I think mine has been sort of a hybrid of both, to be honest. I'm bi-ethnic, Chicana, and white. Um, but the reality is, I have my dad's light skin, so I've been perceived as white. Um, and therefore, I've experienced white privilege within the educational system. I've also had his name, which didn't sound like a Latino name. But at the same time, the cultural values that were instilled in me as a Latina Chicana had a huge impact. And my culture specifically was actually the driving force to get me through higher education. And literally every decision I made as I went from community college to undergrad to law school, I sort of analyzed what could I do with this career to give back to my Latino community. So for me, it was huge, but at the same time, like I said, it was impacted by the white privilege piece and just by my whiteness. I think going through, the public school system with white skin and with a white or European sounding last name, I wasn't tracked, right? I wasn't pegged as, oh, well, maybe she's just going to go and be a mom, or maybe we should send her towards tech work, which is an experience a lot of Latino students have within our public school systems. So I think absolutely, I've experienced both. In my experience, there I think are a lot of factors. In my family, it was the fact that women didn't need education the same way that a man would. And that goes back to the cultural gender stereotypes, of course, of the woman being the at-home caregiver and the child, bearer. My grandmother's experience in Texas when she was a child was that financial, situation got rough, and she was the eldest of the girls within her family of 7 siblings. And while she had older brothers who were of working age, they were boys, so they needed their education for their future, right, to support their families. So as the eldest female, she was the one who was told to drop out of 8th grade and to go and get a job to contribute to the family. And because of the contribution she made financially, her younger sisters were able to continue with their education. But it was something she always mourned, to be honest. I grew up in a mixed family, like steps. So there's my sister and I who are Chicana, and then there are my step siblings who are European descended. And when we've had health problems, emergencies in our family, my sister and I have been the ones to drop out of school, take a leave of absence. And I personally can't help but think that there is a cultural aspect to that even though maybe it wasn't said directly, this was definitely something that we were taught, that when the family needs you, you kind of drop your individual pursuits to do what needs to be done to get the family moving forward again. And then of course we were able to come back and complete our studies. But I think there are a lot of factors. I think while statistically Latinas, I believe, are more likely to complete higher education than our male counterparts, unfortunately, for so many different reasons, I think we also do face that pressure of having to juggle the academics, but also possibly work, possibly parenting, and then also taking care of our parents and siblings, because that's a traditional part of our role as well. My grandma, actually, and I think that's directly linked to the fact that she didn't get to continue. Out of her siblings, it was her children who were the first to get college degrees. She had 4 girls, and all 4 of them have bachelor's degrees. And I think since they were the only one out of the cousins, I think that absolutely goes back to the fact that she recognized what she lost and how valuable that was, and she was not going to allow that for her girls. And so that meant that, my mom in the late 60s, early 70s was one of a handful of Latinas in Texas colleges. I mean, they were not very many. But it just wasn't an option as far as my grandma was concerned to not go. And then when I got my bachelor's, she was the one that kept saying, no, keep going, keep going. And I'd say, okay, well, I'm going to go to law school. And she said, well, you're not going to be the lawyer, you're going to be the judge. So just don't even think about it, keep going. And when I said it's too hard, or I want to stop, or when she was ill and dying, I said, I'll take a break and I'll come and take care of you. And she said, no, you won't, And so she really, and she reminded me of the privileges I had, and frankly, used my history sort of to guilt me back on track as needed. Both my biological parents were first generation to go to college, as was my stepdad. And so there was definitely an expectation that we would go to college, but there wasn't really any mentoring step by step. I mean, I took the SAT, I took the ACT when I was in high school, but nobody really said, are you applying anywhere? Do you want to go visit any place? And I think that was because nobody had done that for them. They didn't know about that piece of it because they were first generation. So it was weird that there was this expectation, but not a lot of guidance. And so I just sort of figured it out, and it took me a while. I wandered around community college for many years before I really figured out the system, but there was always an expectation that we'd at least get a bachelor's degree.